Hello, everyone.
Hello, friends.
And I did not adjust my camera before stream, so I apologize. Hi, guys. So we are back on 428 Shibuya Scramble. If you remember correctly, last time we finished the game. Yay! And now we are on the bonuses. So we have 2 bonus routes to do. We have the bonuses on the main screen to do. So we've got some bonuses. I don't know if we'll finish tonight. We may or may not. We're not going to rush it. Unfortunately, it looks like our normal watcher is probably going to miss this stream. Hopefully your family stuff is all okay. We are cheering for you, whatever's going.
Good vibes.
Yep. And we appreciate the recap because someone needs to leave us a recap. Our bloodlust initially led to Maria's trigger finger, bringing about Osawa's death at Alfred's hands in the normal ending. Yeah, I'd like to, Lemur doesn't know this, but, you remember how in order to get, the good ending, you have to be merciful on all of those different, things? So, you get the different options of, you can try to get revenge, or, you can sit there and say, well, this is not what should happen. We just need to keep, an eye on things and, call it good. At the end, we chose every single option that was violence. So yeah, we didn't do so well on that. Let's see, but then we got the true ending. I just realized you guys have been muted this entire time. One of you want to talk, please? All right, hi guys.
Sending you good vibes.
Yep.
Good lord.
We're doing really great today.
Okay.
10 out of 10.
Alright.
Yeah.
Then we got the true ending where she and the real Kanan shoot each other after the CIA lets her go. Now we must watch the prequel to the Kanan anime and check up on Suzune if we want to unlock the golden ending, which is being cleaned route. So, we want to do Kanan first, or we want to do Suzune first?
Let's do Suzune.
Suzune sound good to you, Lemur?
Yeah.
Alright.
Hey.
Yay! It was almost 1 o'clock. Takuya Kazama watched the orderly collect his meal tray, waiting for the door to fully close behind him before slipping out of bed. He dragged the folding chair closer to the window and sat down. Then he meticulously scanned the entire length of the vast central courtyard outside. From up here on the 2nd floor, he had a great view of the whole open space. The hospital building was shaped like a boxy U, enclosing a promenade that wove its way between the trees, where pajama-clad patients and visitors from their families were enjoying the first day of sunshine to come along in a while. Not yet. She still isn't here. I seem to be doing okay today. If she does show up in the courtyard, I'll sneak out for a walk myself, and then I'll make sure I go and talk to her. Oh, he's cute.
Baby boy.
Hey, what's your name? Oh, no, I can't just up and ask her like that. Maybe I should tell her my name first.
Yeah. Good call, buddy.
I'm Takuya. Who are you? Or is it silly to tell her what my name is when she hasn't even asked? So, what's wrong with you? No, she's been here at least as long as I have. Whatever it is can't be anything small. So, yeah, no way I can open with that. That comes later. Much later. Nice weather we're having. What am I? 90 years old? I need to say something hip. You come out here all the time, huh? No, that's terrible. I might as well say, I've been watching you. She'll think I'm a stalker. In the midst of his internal debate, Takuya happened to cast his gaze back into the courtyard, and there she was, standing right under his window. She wore a white cardigan over her pajamas, standing with her head tilted back and her eyes closed, basking in the light of the sun. The angle finally gave him a good look at her face. The wind caught her evenly cropped bangs, blowing them back to expose the delicate curve of her forehead. She looked deeply happy as she stood, breathing, a gentle smile across her face. Yeah, hopefully she's breathing.
Yeah, that would be
That
great.
would be really good. Heartbeat of spring.
Of spring. Heartbeat of spring. Coming to theaters near you. In a world.
In order to unlock this, you must pay $45.99.
God damn it. What is this, Disney Plus?
Takuya felt as though she were smiling at him, and it brought a tightness to his chest. He'd always thought it would make him impossibly happy were that angelic smile ever to turn his way. So why did it hurt so much instead? He saw her open her eyes back up, and he hurriedly backed away from the window. She saw me! Or did she? No, there's no way she could see in here with the glare. But what does it even matter? I was going to talk to her anyway, right? So, go on. Get out there! Fighting his nerves, Takuya moved back to the windowsill. She was gone.
Gone.
Where had she disappeared to? Takuya scrambled out of his room and rushed to the elevator. It'll be all right. My muscles aren't too stiff. Today's a good day. Mana, you want to take our, other people?
Sure.
Apparently we're echoing, just by the way.
Wait, are we?
Mana and I are.
Alright, well, you guys want to talk again?
Sure.
Alright, well, you guys are... I don't know what is going on with this audio thing. I tried to fix it before stream and it obviously did not work. So,
Like, you're checking on it on the, on your browser? Is that,
what?
like, checking if we're echoing?
No, I can see the audio levels on my screen. So, no, I tried to fix it earlier and I obviously did not fix it.
Well, are we good now?
Well, you guys are muted and you're still showing up on my audio thing, so I assume you must be okay.
Okay. Takuya.
Yep. He recognized the voice of a familiar nurse calling out from behind him, but he ignored her and jammed his thumb on the close button. Once he was down on the first floor, he made his way to the courtyard exit, slipped on some sandals, and headed outside. This is a hospital break? Jailbreak? What is that called? I don't know. He pretended to be out for a walk as he wandered in search of the girl, but went the length of the courtyard and back to the spot under his window without finding her. That's odd. Usually she stays out here a lot longer. Asked a voice. Huh? He turned and saw the girl sitting on a nearby bench. Takuya took half a step back in surprise. Somehow he'd missed her in the shadow of the trees.
Did you mute us?
I muted. Oh, no. I mean, you are... You are coming in weird. Let me see. One of you want to talk, please?
but
All right, we want to do an audio check on that. See if that works.
audio check. Ooh. One day I'll be good at riffs and no one will be able to stop me.
That's
Yeah, I
fair.
could hear Mana, but I also I muted it real fast so I could tell you that.
Was there an echo?
No, let me listen again.
Yeah.
Ooh. Ooh. Super
I did not hear an echo, so I think
Awesome.
we're okay.
Okay.
Expialidocious.
Okay, well. Now that we have sexy Disney music in our stream,
Sexy Disney music. Oh wow, I didn't expect
you guys
that today.
clearly come here for our variety corner.
You do. This is what it's all about.
Who
Let's
knows
see.
what you'll get this stream.
Today is sexy supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Exactly.
Let's see. Him.
I'm sorry.
She
Did I
said.
startle you?
No, not really.
You look like you're in pain. Should I go get a doctor?
She was right. He wasn't used to so much walking. I'll be all right. I just need to rest for a bit, he said, relieved that he'd managed to answer. Lately, his words hadn't been coming out all that well. The girl stood up and reached a hand out to him, but Takuya couldn't bring himself to take it. Instead, he simply sat down on the bench. Not too close to her, but not too far away either. His heart had suddenly begun pounding, but he couldn't tell if it was because of his exhaustion or because he was so close to her.
Oh.
So, you're the boy from that room up there, right?
She pointed to his window on the second floor, and Takuya had to stifle a gasp.
A little earlier, we made eye contact, didn't we?
Did we? Takuya mumbled, averting his gaze. I was just spacing out. I didn't notice.
I've seen you up there from time to time. You look lonely. Are you not able to leave your room much?
She didn't notice that I'm always looking at her. Good. Yeah, I get tired real easy.
Mm-hmm. I see. I'm not able to get very much exercise myself, but they told me that when I'm feeling well enough for it, I should get up and walk around a bit, so my leg muscles don't get weak.
You have a problem with your legs?
I got 99 problems and a bitch ain't one. Let's
I have 99 problems and my legs ain't one.
Yes. No, with my heart. And they say the legs are like a second heart. They play an important part in blood circulation. So if my leg muscles get too weak, it's bad for my health. You know how when a racehorse breaks a leg, it winds up dying? I guess it's sort of like that.
I hope it's not like
What?
that.
Wait, what did I just read?
What the hell?
Well, I'm a little confused by that one and how she managed to get from point A to point B.
I feel
You
like
know
we
how
need
people will just shoot horses because they can't run? That's like that.
Yeah, I feel like we need to combat the misinformation on that one, but I don't know enough about horses.
Well, from my no knowledge, I'm going to guess that what it is because I know that people who breed and raise horses, it's the same thing with greyhounds. If they can't do the thing anymore, they're not useful. So
They
what do
don't
you do
deserve
with
to
something
die,
that-
Ben.
No, they don't. I'm not justifying it. I'm just
Yeah.
Why would they
I'm just
do that to them?
making
Like,
things up. No, it's awful.
That's
I hate people.
so. Yes. From our
Weird.
non-medical opinions, what she said was just completely wrong.
I'm not
So
a
many
doctor,
ways.
but
Yeah, we're
that
not a
sounds hella
doctor.
sucks.
I feel like we need to have that disclaimer on here. We're not a doctor. We're also not serial killers, so we can't even say it from that side. But
You know how when you break your legs, you die?
Yeah.
Okay.
Her tone was cheerful enough, as if she talked about this all the time, but the thought filled Takuya with sadness. So, he began.
Yes?
Do you mind if I ask you your name? As he fumbled the words out, the girl broke into a beaming smile. That wonderful smile, the one that until now he had only seen from afar, so many, many times.
God, he got it bad.
I feel like I always play the character that, like, simps over another character. Like, I played Achu this time. I just played, Mask to Mask, who was a huge-ass simp for his wife.
Big simp simp.
I have somehow, typecasted myself.
The simps. Yep. How does it feel?
I don't know that I like it.
It's okay. If Suave can do it,
I know, like, I can do it.
this is fine. Suzune Endo. The Suzune is written with the characters for bell and sound. So, like, the chiming of bells.
Suzune, the chiming of bells. It was a name that suited her soothing voice perfectly. Suzune Endo. Suzune Endo. I'm gonna start writing my name with Endo, you know, like you see, like, kids do when they think they're going to get married.
Oh my god, we're going there.
Takuya repeated the name to himself over and over.
What's your name?
Takuya. Takuya Kazuma.
Takuya Kazuma, huh? That's a pretty cool name.
I guess it means tough guy or something. Not that I live up to that. The truth was that Takuya was always embarrassed to tell strangers his name.
Why? It's a great name. I don't know about that. You seem pretty cool to me, Takuya. So, how old are you?
Takuya's heart sank. Only kids had to be told that they were cool. I'm 14. What about you, Suzune? From afar, he hadn't realized how tall she was. Taller than him, and probably older.
Oh, here we go, guys. I'm 17.
Just breaking this poor kid's heart. He thought the difference would be less. 3 whole years apart? Takuya's heart sank further. Now she seemed even more unattainable. I mean, when you're 14, 17-year-olds seem really old.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I don't remember particularly wanting to hang out with 14-year-olds at 17.
No.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
As he tried to think of a way to nonchalantly ask Suzune where her room was, he heard the slap-slap of sandals approaching.
Slap, slap. Suzune!
A boy came running up. He was young, maybe in 1st grade or so.
Hi, Ken. Long time no see.
This your brother? Takuya asked.
No, he's in the room next to mine. Who is this?
The boy clung possessively to Suzune's knee as he peered at Takuya.
This is Takuya Kazuma. He's a patient, like us. Oh. Hey, I got some candy. Wanna eat it?
The boy tugged on Suzune's hand.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. All right, then. Takuya, I'll see you later.
Yeah, later. Later? Later when? Am I actually going to get to see her again?
I like candy. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah.
As Takuya watched the young boy drag Suzune back inside, he felt a bitter surge of resentment. He thought that finally getting the chance to talk to her would make him feel a lot better, but instead, he felt worse than he had back when all he could do was stare at her through the window. The sunlit garden suddenly struck him as cold and desolate, so he trudged back inside, his muscles faintly shuddering with each step.
Aaron Carter song is stuck in my head.
You did that to yourself.
Yeah.
No!
It was all you, my man.
Lemur and I have the same brain cell, it's fine. He made his way back toward the elevator to find the head nurse waiting in the corridor, glaring at him. He kept his head down and tried to slip on past her, but she snapped at him as he drew near.
What were you talking about with Miss Endo?
Huh? Takuya blushed at the idea that she'd been watching them, but he soon realized she was being serious.
Shouldn't get too close to that girl.
Why not? He asked.
She may not look it, but she's seriously ill. Neither of you has the ability to fend off a major infection. We certainly don't want you to go catch anything.
The nurse looked away as she spoke, rattling off the words. But they let her go outside like that, right?
Yes, that's true. But Takuya, why in the world did you go out? Did the doctor tell you to go for a walk?
No, but I thought that since I was feeling pretty well and all...
You expect me to believe that? You're shaking. Come on, let's get you back to bed.
The nurse ushered Takuya into the elevator and escorted him back to his room. He was actually quite exhausted, and so he quietly got back into bed. Nurse? Takuya called out to her as she was leaving.
Yes.
Suzune, Miss Endo, I mean, she's got a bad heart, doesn't she?
Did she tell you that?
For whatever reason, the head nurse seemed quite shocked that Suzune had shared this information. Yeah. What is she sick with?
It's something very serious. That's why you ought to leave her alone.
But she's going to get better, right?
About that, Chief.
Yeah. Takuya regretted the question the instant he asked it. The nurse's grim expression was answer enough. A sweet and cheerful girl like that had an incurable illness? For a while, Takuya couldn't even believe it. After the nurse had left, he stared at the closed door in a daze.
Mm-hmm. And a haze.
And a haze, yes.
Might as well a haze days.
I'm just rewriting this, it's fine.
Really?
From that day on, Takuya kept up his vigilant watch on the courtyard, sneaking out of his room whenever he caught sight of Suzune. Bit by bit, the two of them began talking more. Sometimes she'd come out 2 days in a row, and sometimes he wouldn't see her for nearly a week at a time. Other times, he would wander the hospital corridors in search of her room, only to be intercepted and sent back to his own room by the head nurse.
Bullshit. Baba!
Suzune was quite popular. Most especially the old men, old women, and young children at the hospital all seemed devoted to her, their faces lighting up whenever she was around. She was kind enough to listen to all of their grumbling or trifling conversations. Takuya was impressed and baffled by her ability to relate to them. I could never put up with that sort of thing. More than anything, though, her popularity was frustrating. He would have had much more time alone with her if all these people weren't always around.
Oh, damn.
True thoughts of a 14-year-old. He felt like he was the last in a long line of supplicants waiting for her to grace him with a few moments of her time. But after she learned about Takuya's condition, perhaps out of some strange form of camaraderie, Suzune seemed to develop more of an interest in him.
Wilson's disease? I've never heard of it. Is it serious?
Wilson's disease is also known as hepatolenticular degeneration.
That.
A congenital abnormality of the liver cells in which the cell's abilities to eliminate excess copper from the body is impaired, leading to copper accumulation in the liver, basal ganglia, corneas, and kidneys. The disease can cause difficulties with movement and neurological problems, and often leads to further complications such as acute hepatitis and cirrhosis of the liver. Suzune's concerns seemed entirely genuine. For a brief moment, Takuya was almost happy about his rare and grave condition. But he couldn't say that, of course, and so he just nodded. Yeah, if you look, you can see that my eyes have turned kind of brown. Takuya pointed at one of his eyes to indicate the pale brown ring in his cornea. That pale brown ring is an abnormal buildup of copper can cause brownish rings to appear along the edge of the cornea. These are known as Kayser-Fleischer rings.
It's bad for you.
It's something you're born with, where copper builds up inside your body. I'd get really tired super easily, and when the doctors checked me out, it turned out I had hepatitis caused by Wilson's disease. My liver was already seriously damaged, and the only thing that'll fix it is a transplant. That's why I'm in here. But finding a compatible donor has been hard.
I guess we're in the same boat.
You need a transplant too, Susanne?
Yeah, I'm still waiting. I have what's called dilated cardiomyopathy. Yeah! Nailed it. First try. They've tried other forms of treatment. Sorry. Like limiting food and water intake for long periods, putting in an implanted defibrillator, and other things, but it looks like a transplant is the only real solution.
Dilated cardiomyopathy is a condition where a structural change in heart muscle cells causes the ventricle walls to become thin and distended. This decreases heart function, and as the condition progresses, it can lead to heart failure, arrhythmia, and other issues. Victims of the disease have a high probability of sudden death at a young age. At present, a heart transplant is the only cure for the disease. An implanted defibrillator is a device implanted within the body that delivers an electrical shock to a heart that has gone into cardiac arrest due to arrhythmia caused by ventricular fibrillation or ventricular tachycardia. These implants are an effective defense against cardiac arrest, but when triggered, they can also cause intense pain in some patients due to the electrical energy involved. Can we get off of the medical stuff? We don't do this very well.
Yeah.
Dilated cardiomyopathy? Defibrillator? What are those?
What are those?
Didn't understand all the vocabulary,
I'm so sorry.
but it sounded like her condition was even worse than his own.
I really need to stop. But the biggest problem
Susanne continued.
is that there just aren't a lot of heart donors in Japan, and moreover,
Abruptly, she fell silent. A look of loneliness crossed her face. Then she turned back to Takuya with a reassuring smile.
you'll find a match soon, Takuya. Everything will be fine.
And you'll find one too, Susanne. Isn't that right? Takuya felt like something was caught in his throat. It was hard to get the words out.
Yeah, if I'm really lucky.
Susanne hesitated before continuing.
But even then, I doubt I'll be able to get the surgery.
Her tone was so matter-of-fact. Why not? Takuya asked.
Rare blood. My family doesn't have much money, so we can't afford to get surgery overseas, but it's alright. I don't really like the idea of being saved by getting some poor brain-dead person's heart. I mean, that's what it comes down to, you know? Unless someone else dies, I can't be saved. If I had to think of some family out there grieving over their loss, I wouldn't be able to be happy. Even if it did mean I got better.
Man, you are lucky that the whole Hitomi thing got resolved.
Oh, there, son.
Takuya had never thought about that.
Yeah, I wonder.
Just imagining part of some stranger's body getting put inside his own was more than scary enough. Still, if he had to choose between that and death, well, it wasn't even a contest. But if you don't get a transplant, then...
Everybody dies. That's just how it is. For some of us, it just happens earlier than others.
No.
You can't just give up like that, Takuya cried. I won't survive unless I get someone's liver, but if I'm lucky enough to actually get one, I'll be happy about it. The doctor told me that people only give their organs on death because they want to. They want to save lives. Susanne appeared flustered.
Yeah. Poor Susanne. I'm sorry. I know that's the way I should be thinking about it. I'm sure that things will go well for you, Takuya, and that they'll find a donor for you. And you shouldn't hesitate to get that surgery. By getting better, you'll be honoring the dead, in a way. But...
She let out a sigh.
That's not gonna happen for me.
Why not?
Because reasons. My blood type is really unique. I don't think a compatible donor is ever going to turn up.
A unique blood type? Takuya stammered a little as he asked. You mean like RH negative? Suzune shook her head.
You probably never heard of it. It's called Bombay. They say only a few dozen people have it in all of Japan. One of that handful of people would have to happen to go brain dead. And they need to get that person here before their heart stopped, and then the surgery itself would need to go well enough. That's too many coincidences to hope for, you know?
Which is why your father turned to a contract killer. It's fine.
Yeah, shouldn't you be happy that your dad just... No, just kidding.
No. Takuya was too
YOLO.
surprised to say anything at all.
I'm not about to live what's left of my life expecting that I'll win the lottery like that.
Suzune said.
It's better to focus as best as I can on what I can do.
On what you can do? What do you mean?
There are a lot of patients here like you and me who have been here for a very long time. Most of them are senior citizens whose families rarely, if ever, come over to see them. And I kind of enjoy listening to older people talk. They got all plenty of interesting stories, sorry, to tell. But more importantly, wow, my brain like that for 2 seconds, sorry. It brings smiles to their faces, having someone who will listen to them. They tell me that for a little while, it's like they're young again. Like their pain has gone away, and seeing them smile, it makes me happy too. I want to make friends with as many people as possible, to learn about as many people as I can. I don't have time to wallow in my own misfortune. Wow, what a trooper. Damn Suzune.
Takuya had assumed that, unlike himself, Suzune was as cheerful as she seemed to be because she had hope that she'd get better. He'd been suffering through his own illness and had thought day in and day out about how unlucky he was to have been born with it. Though he hated to admit it, he had long since discarded any hope that they'd find a donor and give him a successful transplant. Until he met Suzune, he'd lived every day cursing his fate. Their circumstances were so similar, so why were they so different? Suzune was like an angel. Takuya felt like a miserable excuse for a human being.
Yeah. So. I've spent a lot of time resting in bed.
Suzune said.
So I read a lot. Novels, essays, sometimes I try reading more difficult books on philosophy. I don't always understand all of it, but sometimes it just clicks, you know? And I read high school textbooks sometimes, too. Well, except for math. I've given up on that. Girl, same! What a mood!
Takuya didn't like reading. When he was in his room, he just watched TV. A lot of time, the only shows that were on were garbage, and he knew that they were garbage while he was watching them. But there wasn't anything else that caught his interest. His motivation to study was non-existent, and he certainly didn't have any textbooks in his room. It wasn't like he was going to go on and live a full life, get a normal job, have a normal family. So what point was there in studying? That's what he'd always thought, at least. Am I just wrong? Yes. Da, 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 da. Halfway through her dinner, Suzune found that she'd lost her appetite. Her mood was bleak. Why did I get so high and mighty with Takuya like that? All I ever do is pretend to be the person I wish I was. In reality, all I do is worry about when this heart of mine is going to stop. I know it's normal to be afraid of dying. I practice smiling for my father and my brother. I don't want them to see my fear. I was happy and a little bit shocked when I realized that my fake smiles actually worked. My smiles might have been forced, but the ones I got from those old men and old women and all the little kids, those were real. Oh, hey, Suzune. Hello, young lady. Everyone's always so happy to see me. At some point, Suzune had realized that she was no longer to tell if her own smile was fake or not. She wasn't lying when she said that the smiles on other people's faces brought her joy. But every now and then, the loneliness returned. She wished she could tell someone how scared she was, finally let herself shed the tears she'd held in for so long. But she'd never be able to do that to either her father or her brother. She didn't want them worrying about her any more than they already did. Her pulse grew erratic. Her intense heartbeat hammered like the hoofbeats of a horse at full gallop, a sensation she'd known since childhood.
Not the horses again.
A type of abnormal heartbeat known as gallop rhythm. Instead of the normal 2-beat lub-dub rhythm of a healthy heart, it consists of 3 beats, resembling the sound of a galloping horse, an indication of potential heart failure.
You know, y'all, I don't think we've put this together quite yet, but Suzune's a horse girl.
Wait, what?
I mean, I don't think you're wrong with all of the, like, putting her down like a horse. Now she's got a horse heart.
Oh my god,
Homegirl's a horse girl. Sorry, everybody.
oh my god, no. I can't unsee. Hoofbeats. It's not heartbeats, guys, it's hoofbeats.
Oh my god.
I can't. Help me.
Either that or she was strongly influenced by somebody's horse girl in their life.
It's a possibility.
Sir.
Then she felt an intensely painful electrical shock course through her. Her implanted defibrillator had activated.
Oh.
After suffering through the pain for about 10 seconds, she felt her heartbeat stabilize. I'm all right. My heart is still pumping. But despite her relief, it was impossible not to think about how time was drawing ever closer. If you're in pain, just say so. It's okay to admit it.
Oh, bestie.
With a start, Suzune looked up and saw a nurse in her doorway. She hadn't even noticed the door opening. Was it time to have her temperature taken again? She hurriedly put on the mask of a smile. Huh? Oh no, I'm okay. It's all calmed down now.
Your illness isn't the problem. Hiding it is. If you need a little comfort, just ask.
Suzune was at a loss for words. It was dark outside, and with the lights in her room turned off, she couldn't get a good look at the nurse's face. The woman was tall and slender and had a rather nice build. Was there a nurse like that on staff in this ward? She couldn't remember. What are you talking about? Suzune felt her smile warp as she struggled to conceal a sudden upwelling of sorrow.
You're facing your condition like an adult, but from your father's perspective, you're still his little girl. It's completely natural for your family to worry about you.
This person knows who I am. I'm not sure how, but she knows everything.
Mary Poppins?
Suzune let her mask fall. She looked down at her hands, balled tightly into fists, and let the tears come. I want to be a strong person, but I can't do it. Everyone tells me what a strong and cheerful girl I am, but it's all a lie. The words rushed out as her emotions came rushing to the surface. I'm afraid of dying. I'm afraid of getting surgery. I'm even afraid to go on living. What scares me more than anything is when night comes. I'm afraid every time I go to sleep that I might not wake up again. I thought that if I kept pretending I wasn't scared, that eventually I'd be able to fool myself. But that didn't happen. I'm the only one I can't fool.
Well, this is sad.
I know, this is.
Yeah, excuse me.
We thought this was going to be a cute little love story between two teenagers, and
it's not at all.
No.
We hoped too hard, guys.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're plenty strong.
Uh-huh.
Everyone's afraid of death. That's why they try their hardest to look away from it. Why they try to forget during the day-to-day that's coming. But you face it, every day. Face it head on. You're a strong stronger girl than you think. Everyone else probably underestimates your strength.
The nurse's voice was smooth and soft. Her words flowed over Suzune, washing away her darker emotions.
That's why you shouldn't push yourself so hard. If you keep trying to face all your fears by yourself, both, then one day you might break. It's okay to let it out every now and then. Vent your frustrations. You're fighting so hard every day. There's nothing wrong with asking for a little help.
The nurse sat down on the bed and began to gently stroke Suzune's hair.
You ever afraid to go to sleep? Call for me anytime. I'm always here for you. I'll watch you until you wake up in the morning. That should help, yes?
I couldn't ask you that, is what Suzune had meant to say. But the comforting warmth that enveloped her stopped the words, carrying her gently towards sleep. It was a feeling she'd nearly forgotten, like something from very long ago. But from when, exactly?
The next day.
When Suzune woke the next morning, the nurse was gone, but she did not despair. If she ever needed her, the nurse would be there for her again. Of that, she was sure.
Good morning, Miss Endo.
The nurse who came to take her temperature was the normal one, not the one who'd been there in the night. Good morning. A natural smile came to Suzune's face. She felt deeply grateful that she'd gotten to live to see another day.
Oh. Oh, Suzune. The strong girl.
The weather was nice, so after lunch, Suzune headed out into the courtyard. More than anyone else, she hoped to run into Takuya. She'd understood his outlook on the world the moment she learned of his condition. Plus, it was kind of cute, seeing how hard he tried to hide the way he felt.
She knows.
The fondness she felt for him was like that of an older brother, or of a younger brother. Sorry, wrong brother. At some point, she'd realized that they had a special bond. There was a sense of solidarity, knowing that they were both waiting on a transplant for an otherwise incurable disease. She wanted to say that the things she told him the day before, that was just her searching for an ideal, something to live up to. She wasn't philosophical, she wasn't enlightened. She just wanted to be honest about how hard it was every day. Surely he would understand. But Suzune didn't see Takuya in the courtyard that afternoon. She made small talk with several other patients like she usually did, then headed back to her room. Takuya didn't turn up the next day either, nor the day after that. She would look up at his window from the courtyard, but she never saw him. Where was he? Had his condition taken a turn for the worse? Was he no longer well enough to go outside? Suzune had never been to the second floor where his room was, but she knew the first floor well enough that she could guess the layout well enough to avoid getting lost. With that in mind, she decided to pay Takuya a visit. She went up to the second floor, walking slowly as she eyed the nameplates for the rooms along the courtyard side. There, right about where she expected it to be, she found it. Takuya Kazuma. She'd been afraid that his nameplate had been removed. If it hadn't been there, that would have meant he'd been discharged. That his room had been swapped for some reason, or else... As Suzune was about to knock, a voice called out from behind her.
Miss Endo.
She turned around to see an unfamiliar nurse standing there. Perhaps she was in charge of the ward, or had seen Suzune walking around before, and that was how she knew her name? Yes? Suzune asked.
Were you looking for Takuya?
Yeah. I hadn't seen him in a while, so I was wondering...
I'm sorry. Takuya wants to get out more than he does, but honestly, he's not in any shape to be moving around much. We worried about infection as well, so he's limited his visitors. You probably shouldn't be wandering this far by yourself.
The nurse pointedly pulled the sliding door to Takuya's room closed.
There we go.
If I could just see him real quick.
No.
The nurse snapped, then hurriedly cleared her voice and spoke more softly.
You wouldn't want his condition to get worse, would you?
Susanne saw that she'd have to back down. She returned obediently to her own ward. That's a really hard word to say.
Own ward.
Ward.
Yeah, it's kind of like a tongue
Word.
twister.
Ward.
On ward.
Ward.
Own ward.
Onward. Onward! Yeah.
But she had a hard time accepting the fact that she couldn't visit Takuya. Does that nurse have some kind of grudge against me? Not only does she know my name and know about my condition, she must also know that I've been talking with Takuya in the courtyard. Does she think I'm the reason his condition has gotten worse? Susanne knew that his health wasn't as good as he might have claimed, and she felt a little guilty that she hadn't been as considerate as she perhaps should have. Ward. What?
Now we're just gonna be saying
Ward.
ward all
Ward.
night. Ward.
After that, whenever Susanne went out for a walk, she made a point of swinging by Takuya's room, asking several nurses and doctors about his condition. They would always say that he was doing fine, but staunchly refused to let her see him. Is he maybe already... Susanne couldn't help but imagine the worst. Is everyone just working together to keep me in the dark? But why would they do that? Do they think I'm his girlfriend and they're trying to keep me from the shock of finding out or something?
Ooh.
No, that was ridiculous. Besides, this was a hospital. Susanne knew full well that they didn't have the time to put on some weird piece of theater after a patient had passed away. There must be some other reason. Some reason they don't want us to see each other. Willing to do whatever she could to discover that reason, Susanne tried changing the time of day that she stopped by Takuya's room. Maybe, if nobody was watching, she'd be able to sneak a peek inside. If someone happened to be coming or going, she might even be able to get a look at his face. But Susanne never imagined the way she'd finally wind up seeing him again. On that day, she'd been hiding behind one of the heated meal carts used for delivering dinner to the patients. She followed the orderlies as they brought the cart toward Takuya's room. They'd have to open his door in order to bring his tray inside. But before she reached his room, the door swung forcefully open, and a bed was swiftly pushed from inside. Oh no.
Oh shit, you guys.
Doctors and nurses, their faces pale, ushered it along, pushing the meal cart out of the way as they raced down the corridor. Takuya lay on the bed, his eyes closed, his face severely jaundiced. He didn't appear to be conscious. Takuya! Susanne cried out without thinking. One of the nurses glanced back at her briefly before disappearing from sight with the others as they brought the bed into the elevator. Takuya. As Susanne stood there dumbstruck, her eyes strayed to the open door to his room. With shaky footsteps, she went inside. Takuya's room was largely the same as her own. There was a locker by the entrance, along with a small refrigerator. Over by the window was a TV stand. Next to that was a bookshelf, packed with books. She picked up one of the books atop the bedside table. It was a beginner's primer on topics such as organ transplantation and brain death. On the bookshelf were other, more difficult-looking medical volumes, intended for experts. Yeah, this seems like a 14-year-old's reading material.
Oh yeah, totally. There's some light reading, okay? Like light.
What are you guys talking about? This is stuff I read when I was 14.
Obviously. Takuya's been studying up on diseases? I wonder if he's been holed up in here reading these the whole time. Maybe he'd overdone it studying. That would be a cruel irony. Susanne prayed to a god she had never before believed in. Please, save him. So he's having a great day.
You're not looking so good, buddy.
Takuya blearily opened his eyes. This wasn't his room. An artificial respirator was fitted over his nose and mouth, and several tubes ran between his body and a hemofiltration machine. Vinyl curtains enclosed the area around his bed. A hemofiltration machine is a machine that regulates electrolytes and removes waste products from the blood in lieu of the kidneys, used to assist patients with decreased kidney function. Purifying the blood too quickly can, however, result in a collapse of the body's electrolyte balance, leading to headaches or muscle spasms. He was in an ICU, or intensive care unit, a clinical facility that allows for focused, around-the-clock treatment and monitoring for patients with severe and life-threatening illnesses or injuries. Also used for patients whose conditions might potentially become critical, or for patients requiring an extreme degree of care following surgery. Several people bustled frantically about. The last thing Takuya remembered was being in his room. Was that minutes ago? Or has it been days? Excuse me, could someone... Takuya paused. His voice didn't even sound like his own.
Doctor, he's regained consciousness.
A nurse announced. At that, the face of his attending physician, Dr. Sayaki, suddenly came into view. He was wearing an operating mask.
Takuya,
The doctor said.
please hang in there. Takuya.
It sounded like his father and mother were there on the other side of the curtain. If the staff had called them here, did that mean he was on the brink? What day is it?
What was that?
The respirator was making Takuya's voice hard to understand. He struggled to form the words. Today. What day is it?
April 5th.
April 5th. There were still over 3 weeks to go until his 15th birthday. What was going on? It's too late to save me, isn't it?
Mustn't say things like that.
How much longer do I have? Will I make it another month? Sayaki lowered his eyes. No guarantees then. Please, doctor. I just need 3 more weeks. Please do whatever you can to let me live for just 3 more weeks. I can't die yet. Dr. Sayaki nodded, a thoughtful look on his face. Is there something you can do? Please, I don't want to die yet. I haven't done anything yet. Please, just a little more time.
There is a life-prolonging procedure, highly experimental. However,
I don't care about the risks. I just don't want to die yet.
there's something called an artificial liver system. Clinical trials have only just been concluded in Japan. It's a device that uses cells harvested from pigs. If things go well, rather than just 3 weeks, it might be possible to keep you alive until a donor turns up.
Although a liver dialysis machine can be thought of as a sort of artificial liver, an actual liver carries out much more complicated metabolic reactions that dialysis cannot completely replace. For this reason, biohybrid liver replacements combining mechanical functions with active live liver cells from pigs are currently under research, with clinical tests have been conducted in the United States. The hope is that these bioartificial devices will someday be able to keep those with failed livers alive until the necessary transplants are available. The mention of pig cells was startling, but right now was no time to be squeamish. Please, doctor. If there's even the slightest chance, it's worth it.
Alright, pig stuff, here we go.
This has been nice and cheery.
What a
Yeah,
nice
having a great
cheer.
time.
Mm-hmm. After
10 out of 10.
Takuya was rushed to the ICU, Suzune went to check on him every day, without regard for her own well-being. Day after day she visited, only to be told that he was still in an unconscious state. 3 weeks went by without a change. Then, one morning, while passing by the kitchenette on her way to the ICU, Suzune overheard some nurses talking.
Did you hear? Takuya's regained consciousness. For better or for worse, poor kid. He keeps saying that he doesn't want to die yet. That he wants to live. He's only, what, 14?
The young nurse's voice was tearful. Suzune felt a new kind of pain in her chest.
He's running out of time for a transplant, and with that rare blood type.
Rare blood
shit.
type? Suzune stopped in her tracks, then rushed back to the kitchenette. Excuse me, what do you mean by rare blood type? The moment she saw Suzune, the nurse clammed up and tried to slip away. Please, hold on! That rare blood type! Is it Bombay? Suzune shouted. The nurses exchanged an awkward look with one another, and though neither of them said anything, Suzune knew that she was right. Takuya has Bombay blood too.
Shit.
This was a hospital with high-end facilities that drew patients with incurable diseases from all over the country, so maybe it wasn't such a remarkable coincidence. Transfusions for rare blood types such as Bombay were difficult to come by at regional hospitals. There were some advantages to having another such patient on hand nearby. But
I know where this is going, but I don't like it.
there were downsides too.
Mhm.
Now the inexplicable behavior of the doctors and nurses made sense. They'd been trying to keep Suzune and Takuya from discovering that the other had Bombay blood. It was unsettling enough to know that someone else with the blood type only possessed by a few dozen other people in all of Japan was hospitalized right alongside you. But when both of you were waiting for compatible donors in the hope of receiving a transplant, that was enough to upset anyone's composure. How must Takuya have felt when she told him that she had Bombay blood as well? If I die, she could live. Something like that must have crossed his mind. The fact that he'd started studying up about transplants again must have meant that he was thinking of something. What in the world was he thinking? If our positions were reversed, what would I have done? Suzune knew what she had to do. She headed for the ICU. She got there just as Dr. Sayaki, who was her own attending physician as well, emerged from inside.
Give me your heart. Miss Endo.
The doctor stopped, surprised. Suzune drew herself upright and looked him right in the eye. Doctor, please. Please use my liver for a transplant for Takuya. You can perform a living liver transplant, right? If you need to take half or even 2/3 of it, then please, by all means. For a moment, Dr. Sayaki looked as if he'd taken a punch to the face, but soon his expression resolved into a sad smile.
You heard about the blood.
Suzune nodded. That's you.
Hello?
Mana. Hello.
You hear me?
There you are.
Okay.
Can you hear?
I thought
Hello?
I, like,
Can you
Hi.
hear?
out or something.
No, I was like, what?
I guess my I don't know. I don't know what happened, but I guess I lost connection with it. Anyway, I'm afraid that won't be possible. A living liver transplant is dangerous. Wow, enough for a healthy person. Someone in your condition would never be able to tolerate the surgery.
You can do it when my time comes then, Suzune said.
Regardless, Miss Endo, I can't carry out a living liver transplant between complete strangers. The law doesn't allow it. If the two of you got married, that would be a different story. But that's not possible either.
Children. They're children.
Yeah, why are you bringing this up, sir? Uncomfy. Neither you nor Takuya can legally marry until you're 18.
Married.
There we go.
Suzune had never thought about such a thing, but if marrying Takuya would make the surgery possible, she'd do whatever it took.
Holy shit.
But
We're
apparently,
going there.
the law wasn't going to allow for that either. Well, I don't care what the law says. If I'm the only person who can save Takuya, then please, take my liver. Doctor, please.
I'm afraid what you're asking simply can't be done. You need to focus on your own condition and on getting better yourself.
I'm beyond saving anyway, though, right? So please, I'm begging you. Takuya needs... As Suzune grabbed hold of the doctor's gown, pleading, a sharp pain shot through her chest. The galloping heartbeat was back. No.
Oh, horse girl!
Her pulse had never been quite this erratic before. Her mouth opened and closed reflexively. She was unable to breathe. Doctor, please. So if they both die, then neither one of them gets the transplant, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. It's a lose-lose situation.
Yeah.
No.
An electrical shock went through her from the implanted defibrillator. The world faded as she slowly collapsed to the floor. I wonder if this is what Achi got the call about.
Yeah, that's what I think happened.
Suzune had a long, long dream.
That was I didn't know that's where that was going.
Yeah. Her father father was in that dream, and though Suzune couldn't clearly remember her face, her late mother was there too, trying desperately to save her. And then there was Takuya. Takuya was smiling. A genuine smile. A smile that Suzune had never seen. Takuya's mouth was moving, but no sound came out. She tried to read his lips. T-H-A... Thank you.
No, thank you.
I was going to spell it all out, and then I just decided.
Nope.
Fuck it. Thank you. Wait, what do you mean? Suzune cried out as she woke. She was staring up at a familiar ceiling. She was back in her own room. She spotted her older brother Achi sleeping in a folding chair nearby. Achi. The word creaked raspily from her throat. Where is this going to jump to?
Right.
Well, we have a jump later that I guess we can do.
Oh, wow.
Hi,
Suzune
teacher.
slept for like 10 hours. 10 very boring hours where absolutely nothing of importance happened.
Exactly.
I mean, you're not wrong. Huh? Suzune, you awake?
Her brother rose from the chair, then excitedly scampered out of the room. I love you, sir.
Like my cool new shirt?
With a start, Suzune realized something was attached to her chest. She felt a peculiar sensation. 6 distinct tingles all running from the center to the left side of her chest. Electrocardiograph electrodes. She followed the leads that ran from her chest to the monitor by her pillow, and was surprised to see the waveform moving across it. It was her pulse. And amazingly, the rhythm was solid and strong. Nothing like the one she'd been familiar with for so long. No, that's not my pulse. Suzune realized what she was seeing. She understood instinctively. This heart? It was Takuya's.
I was right.
Achi returned.
Oh no, you're lying, April.
Achi returned with Dr. Sayaki, who proceeded to check the various monitoring devices by the bed, nodding and smiling with satisfaction.
Good to see you awake again. For now, there don't appear to be any signs of rejection. Of course, we'll need to be vigilant, but this new heart seems to be a good match for you, Ms. Endo.
It's Takuya's, isn't it? Please tell me it's not. I told you I wanted him to have my liver. Takuya was dead. If she
He
had
told
his...
us that he wanted to give you his heart first, so he won.
Yeah, I know. Like, it's first dibs, right?
Yeah. Like, dibsies.
Mm-hmm. If she had his heart now, there was no way he was still alive. Dr. Sayaki looked away, and for a while he said nothing.
When it comes to who your donor is, I'm not at liberty to say anything. You understand that, right?
Right.
So, instead, let me tell you how things went for Takuya in the end. You two were friends. Boyfriend and girlfriend, maybe. Maybe, I don't know. Either way, you could have a right to know about his passing. Wow, that's sad.
Passing. I mean, we have his heart, so, like, he's obviously not walking around without one. Just gonna point that out there really quick.
It's called magic. No.
Yeah. Suzune had already imagined as much, but now she couldn't hold back the tears. Takuya is dead. He's dead. Dr. Sayaki went on.
Takuya begged me to keep him alive just a little bit longer. His family agreed. And so, we proceeded with his artificial liver system, a treatment that's relatively untested here in Japan. For a while, his symptoms abated and even regained consciousness.
The doctor took a breath.
But it was already too late. He lapsed into a coma due to acute liver failure, and then developed complications, a condition known as DIC, which causes clotting in blood vessels throughout the body. Initially, we thought he might have hepatic encephalopathy. Yes! Okay. But a CT scan of the head revealed cerebral edema. He was declared brain dead 2 days after his birthday. He was 15 years old.
Well, this is sad.
No!
Dr. Sayaki gave her a significant look. Susanne wondered what that implied.
There's lots of
was-
like low-key boofing happening in my house right now, and I'm trying to stop them from just full out bark fest. Just like one
no.
will just boof real quietly, and then another one will, and then another one will, and it's gonna turn into a bark fest real fast.
It's a choir of puppers. It's fine. We'll just get to listen to their beautiful melodies.
Yes.
He was insistent that he made it to 15.
Sayaki continued.
He said there was something he absolutely needed to do. On his birthday, he called for his family and told
There
them,
it is.
I want to register as an organ donor.
What?
Here in Japan, individuals under 15 years old of age aren't allowed to give consent for organ donation. If Takuya had died before he turned 15, then his heart, all of his organs rather, could not have been provided to a patient in need. And that was something he wished for very much.
Takuya had been reading up and studying, and he learned that he needed to survive until he turned 15. And he asked for life-prolonging measures to be taken, all so that he could register as a donor in order to give me his heart.
Oh my god, this boy! He simped that hard. Oh my god. And I don't know who it was, but apparently a surgeon was able to perform. Wow. It's like, my friend told me that. Okay,
Yeah.
oh god. Oh yeah, your friend.
Okay.
Apparently, a surgeon was able to perform a transplant for a patient believed to be an ideal match for his heart.
Who knows who this patient is, obviously.
I don't know. Evidently, this patient was also comatose and in an extreme dire state. But from what I hear, the surgery seems to have gone quite well. Of course, I do not know the identity of the patient either.
It's such a mystery. Susanne strained to move her right hand, setting it atop her chest. Underneath the layers of the bandages, she could feel a heartbeat, steady and strong.
A strong one.
Takuya's heart is beating within me.
He left a letter for you. I haven't looked at what's inside, so I'm not sure what it says.
Dr. Sayaki set a white envelope down on the bedside table, then left the room.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, really.
Now I'm gonna eat before I go cry myself to sleep.
Yeah, really. Achi, read it to me. She didn't feel strong enough to read it herself, but she didn't want to wait.
You sure?
Achi asked.
All right then. Let's see.
Achi opened the envelope, slid the letter out, and began to read.
Me, la la la. Testing 1, 2, 3. Susanne, if you're reading this letter, that means everything has gone well. Congratulations. And also, thank you. Ever since I became sick, no, even before then, I hadn't known what it was like to be happy. I hated the world. I went through my whole life just thinking about how pointless my existence was. An excuse for a human being with no reason to live. What did it matter if I was here or not?
Normal thoughts for a 15-year-old.
Yeah, what the heck? I hated that I was going to die so young, but at the same time, it seemed pointless to try to live any longer. And then I met you. An angel! A literal angel on earth, damn! I fell in love with you! Oh no! I love you, Susan! Oh no! Oh my heart!
Literally.
We're going through it! With you in this world, I wanted to go on living a little long. Oh no, because living would actually have some meaning. Oh no! This is sad! Sad boy hours. I found out that we had the same blood. I was shocked. It had to be fate. Right? Neither of us was going to be able to survive on our own. But if one of us sacrificed ourselves for the other one could go on living now, it wouldn't be able to be any world without it. The answer was clear. Wow.
You're just going through it right now.
Oh no. This is sad. I want you to have my heart, Susan, figuratively and metaphorically. Damn it! I'm probably a little sad knowing that I'm gone now. I'll be happy if that's the case. Will you please be happy for me now that you have my heart inside you? Literally and figuratively, and would make me happier than anything. Wow. Oh, damn. You had a good boyfriend, Susan. Thank you so much for taking care of my heart. It'll beat for you as hard as it can, I hope. And not like that horse heart you had previously.
Yeah, really?
I wish we could have talked more. If it had only been possible, I would have liked to have gone somewhere with you. Like on a date, maybe. But it's okay. This way I get to be with you forever. I won't be lonely anymore.
Ashi's sitting here going, what the fuck is wrong with this kid?
And he's like, what happened while I was gone? Goodbye. I'm looking forward to our future together. Takuya Kazuma. No. Oh my god, they got married. In their heart. Oh,
I would just like to say that that's just what, like, for a 14-year-old boy, homeboy's got, like, words. Like, damn.
Homeboy spitting bars here.
Let me just say, this man writes like he's in a Nicholas Sparks novel.
You can tell this was not actually written by a 14-year-old boy.
Yeah.
Maybe his mom was at the bed and be like, okay, does this sound good to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
His mom's over here writing it.
Right? It was definitely
like,
Ma.
it's cool that you want to give her your heart, but this is how you're going to break it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
This is like, what's the saddest movie ever that everyone cries at? Oh, shit. Well, for me, that's Finding Nemo, but for everyone else.
Grave of the Fireflies is the one that always makes me cry.
Oh yeah, Grave of the Fireflies.
But that's a completely different thing from this.
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. Grave of the Fireflies and this, yeah. Yeah.
Achi's voice grew gradually more hoarse as he read. By the end, he was struggling not to weep.
I already did. Damn it! Did it really have to be like this?
Suzune was more astounded than she was sad. Of course, she was upset that Takuya had died. And she was glad that she was going to live. But above all, she was amazed by the fact that Takuya had cared for her as much as he had. That he'd fought so hard to prolong his own life just to save hers. That moved her more deeply than anything she'd ever known. Maybe a young crush couldn't be called real love, but that didn't make it any less pure. And just think, she never had to tell him that she thought of him like a little brother. Thank you.
Meanwhile, Achi's here, just crying.
Go on.
Goodbye. And I'm looking forward to our future together.
My heart. And his heart. And all your hearts. Damn.
Yay!
Wow, that was sad.
But we know Suzune lives.
Yes, Suzune lives, but Takuya died.
Yeah, we got to, meet Takuya for just long enough to just twist the knife when he died.
Wow, that hurt me. That cut me real deep, fans. Wow. I didn't expect that. Yeah.
Luckily, we can see whatever Achi is doing during this time, I guess.
Yeah.
I was not expecting a jump to him.
Maybe the friends we made are the Takeya's heart in all of us. I don't know. Like,
Something
along
like that
the way.
Would go. Takuya's heart was the friend we made along the way.
Achi just be there, like, crying at the bed and just be like, damn it. I didn't even get to say hi to Takuya. Shit, because I was too busy saving Shibuya or something.
I know.
God. Where was I during all this? Wow.
And since this happens after all of that, are we going to see Hitomi and Achi's jump? We're gonna see what's going on with them? I need to know. I
Yeah,
was
come
very
on, guys.
invested in that relationship.
I want to see the date.
Like, yeah, their first date was pretty, it was a lot. We'll just say that if we count, the entire thing as their first date. But, I was very invested in that relationship. It was young love of the best kind.
Yeah. Hella young. Babies.
And now, none of them get to sit on the bench. Because I assume Suzune gets to go home. And we've already talked about what happened with Takuya.
Takuya, poor boy. Damn.
The end.
End. The end. Oh. Ah! Sorry.
It's not like when we, played through the story and it was like the end of his story. And.
Right?
Yeah.
Alright, so. Looks like it's gonna kick me all the way back out.
You get it. Anyway. I'll just be in the corner. A trophy was earned!
Yes, we got ourselves a trophy. So let's take a look at Achi's jump there. Because I want to know what our boy's doing.
You're gonna jump to the surgeon's rat and it's Dr. Hottie.
Please tell me I do not have to go through her entire route again. Just to see what the fuck. No! No, don't do that to me.
Oh no! Can't we just like jump or something?
Apparently not. Yeah, because she doesn't have a time chart. No!
Damn it.
No!
Bro.
Summary, scroll through text log. Open the time chart. Oh shit, I can hold. Let's see how. Does this actually work? It does not actually work, apparently. This is as fast as it goes? Really? Okay, well, I can't even get to the time chart here. So, I guess we go back to the title screen. Okay, well, apparently, whatever Achi's gonna do is a mystery. Let's check out our bonus content really quick and see what we got. Because I think there's a couple of these that we can... So, as you can see, so we've got all of our... we've got some special episodes that we have already unlocked. Because I think this actually goes off of the stuff that we have done. And then all of our cutscenes. So those were the preview scenes. And previews. But what I want to do is the pop quiz.
Ooh, a pop quiz. Oh no, I didn't study. Shit.
I know. Okay, so we're on question 7. So this pop quiz has to do with different things that we saw during the entirety of 428. And so Lemur and I did a couple of these. So now we're on question 7. I think there's 10 questions total. Anyone remember what the 20-second performance by the theater troupe of the Wandering Angels was?
No.
I'm cheating.
Romeo and Juliet.
Does that look like what I'm typing in?
Au revoir.
Oops. What's my backup button? Do I get a backup button? No, I don't get a backup button. Oh, there we go. Au revoir. Yay!
Yay! It's so cute. I'm kidding.
Gotta get
Google's
Tama
not
back in
helpful.
here.
Yes,
Okay,
Kat.
Shinosuke Arai. If I had to compare it to something, it would be gum stuck to the bottom of a shoe. I, Shinosuke Arai, first came across the impulse when I was young. It's good that you got to see this when you were still little, my parents said to me. We had gone to see one of Shakespeare's 4 great tragedies, King Lear. The material was a bit difficult for me, at my age. Even so, the dazzling sets, the sublime music, and the true-to-life acting struck me to the very core. How amazing it all was! To think that something like this existed in the world. It was a setting I wanted to hurl myself into. I wanted to move others with the same impulse that had moved me. From then on, these thoughts were never far from my mind. And then, when I was in 2nd grade, I made my debut as a stage director. When the school was deciding the program for the arts festival, I eagerly proposed King Lear. The rest of my class was, of course, rather flabbergasted, but as no other suggestions were put forth, Lear was chosen. I raised my hand to volunteer as director. Since the rest of the class was unsure what a director even was, no one raised any objections. It was my directorial debut. I poured my heart and soul into it. Little did I realize I had started down a road of hardship. We had 10 days for rehearsal before the opening. Why don't you know your lines? I told you that you had to have them memorized by today.
Sorry, I forgot.
You forgot? You think that's going to cut it? I lashed out at a classmate who had yet again dropped his lines when we were already well into the rehearsal. How someone could fail to remember 3 measly lines was beyond me. Thinking back now, I've encountered an awful lot of actors over the years who simply refuse to listen to what their director tells them. What makes them so reluctant to faithfully follow directions? Are you really okay with the prospect of flubbing your lines during the actual performance? You can say them yourself, I'm busy. The only thing you're busy with is TV and games! The class suddenly fell silent. I leaned back, sneering at them. A few of the girls began whispering to one another. Look at him acting all high and mighty when he's not even class rep. Yeah, he's not a teacher. He can't go around telling everyone what to do. Everyone hates the director. I'd learned that from the television programs I watched to learn more about drama. The director would pelt the actors and backstage crew with vitriol, toss out absurd instructions without compunction, and even hurl ashtrays across the stage. It was a job to perform without mercy. Directors don't lash out because they're bad people, mind you, but you have to be something of an ogre in order to assure that both you and the audience are satisfied when the curtain falls, to attain the sense of accomplishment that comes from true artistic achievement. Enough of the yammering! In my rage, I searched around for an ashtray. They don't keep those in elementary school classrooms, however, so instead I grabbed and hurled the nearest pencil case. It's only natural for a born director to behave with such intensity. No longer had I thrown the case, however, than the homered teacher snatched me up by the scruff of my neck. Before long, I was in the staff room getting a lecture crammed down my throat. Then I was made to return to the classroom and apologize to anyone. Still, I had not lost my passion for a successful production of King Lear. I would not be disheartened by such a minor setback. At rehearsal after school the following day, the teacher addressed us. In order to take some of the burden off of young Mr. Arai here, everyone will direct the production together. Yes, ma'am,
Oh boy.
the class replied as one. It was beyond absurd. Naturally, I was vehemently opposed to the idea. Democracy has no place in the world of art. The enjoyment comes from a clash of individuals who excel in their given roles, each refusing to compromise one iota. But the teacher would have none of it. It's all well and good to take this seriously, but we don't want a repeat of what happened yesterday. Let's all be friends, all right? Let's be friends? Did she think that fine art could be created by being friends?
Yes.
I could only
No.
grimace at such a laughable misconception. And so began our new rehearsal system. We would practice a scene, and then everyone would offer their opinions about it. You need to look at the person you're speaking to, I railed angrily. Where you look is important. Others chimed in from all around. Oh, what does it matter where you look? What if we tried reciting our lines while jumping? Say, I'm playing a tree. Can I have some dialogue too? I'm trying to figure out if it needs more yikes or more ta-da. No one could tell at this point whose instructions they should follow. From the very outset, it was chaos. Everyone just said whatever they wanted. There's no way I'm holding hands with a boy! This costume looks dumb. How about something more like superhero-y? Give me a new part. I should play the lead. Taste the wrath of the mighty Cornwall Slash! Brow! Pew pew pew! Ba-boom! Stop all the rambling! Stick to the script! My anger had finally boiled over. We're all supposed to offer our opinions though, right? Yeah, alright, stop! Quit your belly aching! You're such a bellyacher! 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 Bellyacher!
Bellyacher.
This mad whirlwind, which no one in their right mind would call rehearsal, continued 4 days. A whole week passed. At last, once everyone had finally realized that the new approach was getting us nowhere, I was reinstated as the play's sole director. There wasn't much time left before the main event. Never before had I thrown so much gusto into the craft. What's with that monotone? You need to put more feeling into it. You're not reading from a textbook. I was not one to go easy on my actors. But I'm shy. No excuses. You're not bringing enough realism to the part. You need to give it more oomph. Okay, fine. I'll try. Thanks to my fierce directing, the others had improved bit by bit. With just a little more patience, a truly grand sense of accomplishment could be ours. At long last, I was sensing a real response to my work. And then it all changed. The boy who was playing the back half of a horse suddenly took down his pants. His underwear
my God.
came
What?
down next.
Oh, this is that kind of play now. Okay.
Then he squatted down on the spot. His brow creased with the strain of effort.
Oh.
He was really doing this. The entire class fell into an uproar at this rather sudden development. Girls ran away, boys broke out laughing, the teacher... Sorry.
Everybody loves it when somebody just takes a shit in the middle of class.
I have the sense of humor of an 8-year-old, apparently. The teacher rushed in unthinkingly to cut both hands under the young fellow's backside. I don't think that is right.
No.
I think that is not a good idea.
Just pull their pants up, take them outside.
And
My God.
I just stood there dumbstruck. Once everything had calmed down, I went to talk to him. What were you thinking? I demanded.
Take a shit in the middle of performance.
You said that you wanted more realism, so I figured the horse should take a dump. I had no words. That sure counts as real, all right, someone called out. The class erupted in raucous laughter. The energy drained from me in an instant, and I collapsed to the floor. Real. Was that what real meant on the stage? I couldn't deny that taking a dump qualified from a certain perspective. The bowel movement itself had certainly been genuine. It had been live. It gave a certain ambiance. Was that wrong? It hadn't been the kind of realism I'd been after. I'd been hoping for something else, for a sense of tension that went beyond mere fabrication, that expressed the clashing of life's various emotions. In my confusion, I clutched my head. Was this how my art was to fall apart? You stupid amateur! Before I knew it, I had blown my top, launching into a wild rant. I don't quite recall what happened next. I didn't recover right away and wound up missing school for a while. The school arts festival went on without me. I heard it was well received. What is art? What is drama? What is man? What is the world? Whenever I try to ask and answer these questions, I always think back to that experience, back when I was young. If I had to compare it to something, it would be gum stuck to the bottom of a shoe. No, an AM radio broadcast washed out with static. No, a cut of meat that's been steamed for too long. No, perhaps like a sodden doormat. No, maybe it's like...
Oh my God.
Yes. It's something like a love letter written in the dead of night. Fitton. Did you enjoy our tale of artistic agony? Well, if you're serious about the craft, we've got some good information for you. In Kano's story, in the 12 o'clock time block, Kano and Sasayama chase after the kidnapper. Try waiting on that scene a while and see what happens. Have fun with that and see you next time. Do you want to try that while we're thinking about it?
Sure.
What?
Alright. We have
Anything to just try to think about anything other than just a child taking a dump in the middle of it.
It was a very shitty performance.
Oh my god.
I'm so mature.
Good job.
So mature, you guys.
Very mature. Okay,
It's
so
like-
let's load it up.
Our audience be like, is the pop quiz worth this?
Who doesn't want to hear about a child taking a shit on stage? Like, he's not wrong. It is craft. Let's see. Okay, R1, back to our main story. Kano at 12 o'clock. I have already forgotten what the rest of that hint was. Okay, let's go back to 12 o'clock. During the 12 o'clock time block, something happens. Anyone remember what the rest of that said?
Immediately forgot.
I know, so did I.
I think my mind is still stuck somewhere.
I know we're watching
Yeah, we have to,
something.
like, hang out.
Yeah.
Or something.
Anyone remember where we have to hang out? Anyone want to go
can't
back and
see.
see what the stream was?
Say, I currently can't see chat, so Mona, you can check in.
Yeah, if anyone
Wait, hang
talks,
out.
let us know.
Hang out where?
That's what we're checking.
Oh, okay.
Currently rewarding Maverick for not completely losing his shit.
Good boy.
He gets to clean the meat pan.
Very good boy.
Oh wait, I'm doing this one, right?
No.
Okay, wait.
Lemur is checking what the hint says because we read it
Right.
and immediately forgot what it said.
Oh well. Mood.
Never claimed that my reading retention was good. It obviously transferred over to listening retention.
I have ADHD, so it's in one ear and out the other immediately.
My hyperfixation is what my Halloween costume is going to be this year, so really anything
My
other than that is...
That's the spirit.
I need to come up with something clever like me losing my dignity or finding my sanity.
Seeing as I won't be leaving my house on Halloween, I am probably not going to dress up. It's a sad existence as an adult.
Well, because, yeah, Halloween's a Sunday this year, so I have an outfit that I think will work for work on that Friday, and then I'll probably wear something a little bit more comfy to pass out candy on Sunday.
That makes sense.
Dressing up. Wait, what's the most iconic costume?
Well, really, the one costume that I have not been able to put together that I really want to wear is I want to find an alligator onesie and then get a Loki crown so I can be alligator.
I love it.
Alligator Loki, yes.
But I settled for Sylvie instead, so...
I mean,
Oh,
it'll still be good.
I mean, Sylvie's good. I like Sylvie. Sylvie's rad.
I'll still be
Alligator
a
Loki is
variant.
just the best.
I
You
should
can't
just
get
get
better.
alligator at this point and just carry it around with me at work and
There you
then
go.
confuse most of my coworkers.
They need better taste in entertainment then.
Albert, can you come with me, please? Come on, yes, I have the pan. Please come. You can continue to obsessively lick the pan. You just need to be in front of me. Oh, frick. No, okay. Now we're just fin.
Next time I apparently need to take a picture of it, or someone needs to, like, type it into the chat.
Why did that disappear? Working on it.
There we go. After I just gave that very artistic performance, recounting how a child shit on a stage while in the back end of a horse costume.
As a thespian, I took offense to that.
I mean, he's not wrong. It did lend some realism to it.
So it's the interview at 12 o'clock. That's not helpful to me entirely. So I have the answers now. So it's Norikawa's interview at 12.
Minorikawa's interview.
Yeah. This is Au revoir, Minorikawa's interview at 12.
Yeah, we know that one. I think this is trying to find the answer to the next one.
Okay, well, no. That's not right. This isn't helping.
Okay, let's see.
Okay, this one just has the answers. That's not helpful. I mean, it's helpful, but not helpful. Just tell me. Thank you so much, Matt.
Oh, I see where you, I see where you got those ones. Let's take a look at what is going on, because you and I must be on the same site there. Okay, so 12 surveillance cameras.
Okay, yeah. Norikawa surveillance cameras input right 0, right 0, right. I realize I probably got you a bit riled up.
Okay, so Jack, we just have to find some web, blah 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 blah.
Mav, you have the pan, honey. Honestly, when you're done, I can just put it right back in the cupboard. It's so clean. Good job.
Very good boy. Okay.
I mean, I'm pretty sure there is not any meat juice left. Come on, there is. I'll get it. Okay, wait. So yeah, it's Norikawa at noon, surveillance cameras, and to input that thing. Realize you probably got you a bit riled up, and then 12:30 with Osawa. Is this all the same thing, or is this just?
Let's see. Blah 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 blah.
Wow, it's been a while since we saw this part.
I know. This is
totally.
way early on.
Yeah, this is like towards the.
Yeah, this is like, I think, 4th time luck.
Wow. Yeah, for sure.
This is back when we didn't even know that Shibuya was going to, you know, all die. In particular.
Good job, Mav. That becomes a problem.
Blah, blah, blah. Don't see the problem. Oh, that's right. I forgot how much Minorikawa picks fights. Blah, blah, blah. Oh yes, top class, socially conscious expose. That's what, clearly what, 4-star general gossip writes.
Oh yeah.
Journalistic arrogance. Oh, he just has arrogance. There's nothing journalistic about it, my dude.
Oh yeah.
Good stuff. Okay, I realize I probably got you a bit riled up. So, supposedly, if we wait, this pans out very slowly. It does not feel like it is panning out at all.
Mav. Stop harassing your aunt. Oh good, he's outside to harass the neighbors. That's better.
Da 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 da!
Oh good.
Alright, we got another one. Taisei Yasuda. The sound of fingers clacking across a keyboard echoed in the dimly lit room. As soon as he'd gotten back to his apartment after his shift at the second-hand shop, Yasuda had gotten straight to his computer. Ever since he'd started his blog, his day didn't feel complete until he'd made an update. And there we go. Taking a deep breath, Yasuda read back over what he'd just written. It's called mixed martial arts for a reason. It's more than just punching. If your strikes aren't working out, you go for a takedown or something instead. I shared my observations here on my blog, and then, the week after, he managed to get his first win in a while. I'm positive that he saw my post. So come on, Funayama. If you're lost in the darkness, just lend me your ear. I'll let you know what to do. Another good one today. Feeling pleased, Yasuda clicked the post button. The floor of Yasuda's 100-square-foot apartment with kitchenette was littered with mounds of martial arts magazines, so many that there was hardly any room to walk. His tiny LCD TV was set to a martial arts cable network. The TV ran 24 hours a day, and he saved the footage to a hard disk recorder. And, of course, once a week, he would go out to see a fight and then post about it on his blog. His most recent post was typical of his combative tone. He knew that he came off as a little harsh, but his criticism was driven by his love of the sport. His confident online pronouncements did lead to an intense backlash from time to time, however. A few days after his scathing critique of Funayama, for example, Yasuda received a rare response on his blog. The respondent's username was Passerby. That's how he took his opponent to the mat toward the end of the match, right? Ugh, seriously, what match were you even watching? And where the hell do you get off offering pointers like that? Yasuda's blood boiled as he read the comment. Where the hell did this person get off? His fingers darted to the keyboard. Huh? First off, who the hell are you? That tackle was clearly just him trying not to look like he'd been taken down. You think that was deliberately set up? Don't make me laugh. Shut the fuck up, noob. Funayama has had a pretty comprehensive career. If he has enough humility to hear me out, I'm sure he'll want to win. Don't you just want him to have a bright, bold future? If not, you can just get the fuck off. I'm not going to delete your comment because I want other people to be able to see how wrong you are. Satisfied that he'd set the record straight, Yasuda went straight to bed. But the next morning, when he checked his blog before going to work, he noticed immediately that something was unusual. The thread had gotten over 300 replies. Wow, someone sure is full of himself. Quit talking like you know more than you do. Maybe you should try stepping into the ring yourself if you're such an expert. Look at me, I can teach some dumbass what I know. People were having a field day. A few of them had come to Yasuda's defense, but they had been dismissed as sock puppet accounts. He snarled as he stared at the monitor, too preoccupied to even think of heading to the shop. Should he close the thread? Should he maybe close the whole blog instead? He leaned back and stared at the ceiling, thinking hard. He could only come to one conclusion. I'm not running from this. I'll take on any challengers, anytime, anywhere. Slapping himself on both cheeks, Yasuda started typing out a new blog post. You guys don't understand anything. Mixed martial arts, as the name implies, involves a mixture of different fighting styles. Karate, judo, wrestling, boxing, you name it, I've done it. I'm watching these fights on a different level than the rest of you. So shut the fuck up, you noobs. I'm gonna school you.
Get it.
In reality, not only did Yasuda have no martial arts experience, he had barely participated in any sports his entire life. The only place he was a martial artist was inside his own head. His new post generated even more comments than before. 20 comments was usually a good day. This time he'd easily blown past 3,000. Sweat beaded on Yasuda's forehead. It wasn't out of any apprehension, though. His fighting spirit had been ignited. Yasuda! 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 An imaginary crowd chanted his name in his mind. I'm being tested right now. Tested on my love of the martial arts. That's it. I'm not opening the shop today. This is more important than work. He whipped off his shirt, leaving himself half naked to answer online fucking comments.
No.
He smacked himself in the cheeks repeatedly with his open palms and then turned to face the mirror. You are strong. You are a champion. Kick some ass. You're an ass kicker. You can do it. Pumped up by his pep talk, he let out a high-pitched battle cry. Yeah! Yasuda charged over to the keyboard. Feeling ferocious, he started to type. The words rushed out like a wild torrent. Come on, man, he shouted to keep himself psyched up. Shut the hell up, Mr. Yasuda, shouted his neighbor, an Indian exchange student named Mohinder, from the other side of the apartment wall. Yasuda ignored him. After he fired off his post, the internet was quick to respond. When it did, Yasuda fired back again. It was like a fight that had turned into a hell-bent brawl with no concern for defense. Hey, can anyone search this guy's earlier blog post and find out where he is? I'm pretty sure he said where he works. Now the cybermob was picking through the details Yasuda had posted, trying to pinpoint where he lived. Ordinarily, he would have been trembling with fear right now, but he refused to back down. LOL, if you're gonna come at me, come at me. I'll take you on any time you want. I'll show you how to pull off an actual tackle. My only worry is accidentally killing someone. Before you fight me, you'll have to sign a waiver absolving me of any liability if you die. If you're still good with that, then bring it on. After posting his defiance, though, he felt a sudden twinge of worry. What if someone really did challenge him? What would he do? He didn't know how to perform a tackle or even really throw a punch. Still, now was no time to hesitate. He'd deal with any challenge when it came, by taking it promptly to the police. Several months went by, and the flood of heated comments on Yasuda's blog continued. People had managed to track down his address and had learned his real name. But nobody had come to challenge him yet. In all likelihood, Yasuda's commenters were just like him, martial artists in their own minds only. That being the case, he decided, he could go after them for all it was worth. Well, hey now, are the loudmouths who come to this blog really all talk and no action? Come on, I said I'd take on anyone at any time. If you've got beef with me, come to the statue of Hachiko in Shibuya tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Hell, I'll even pay for your travel. You'll need the money for the medical expenses when I'm done with you. Hey Yasuda, it's 10 o'clock. Where the hell are you? I'm here. I'm a boxer with 5 years experience. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 7 years and I'm here. Don't see no Yasuda though. Did Yasuda bust out and run? Let's go to where he works. Don't be idiots. I didn't run off. I was just in the bathroom for a bit because my stomach was acting up. I'm by Hachiko now. How come no one's here? Don't lie, Yasuda. You're the one who's not here. I said I'm here. Where the hell are you? And to this day, the battle of imaginary martial artist versus imaginary martial artist rages on. Each competitor still safely ensconced at home. The blog still gets over 1,000 hits a day. Ta-da! All right, and I think we are going to end there for tonight.
They were right at 2 hours, so.
Yeah. So next stream is Tuesday, 7 o'clock Pacific, 10 o'clock Eastern. I never do it that way, but you know what? We did it that way today. I don't have anything special to talk about. Have you guys got anything?
Mm-mm.
No, not this week, and surprisingly.
Cool. All right. Well, wash your hands, wear a mask, get vaccinated. Be safe, make good choices, and we will see you guys in a couple days. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye.